Basketball is played by people of all abilities and levels and is pretty much played everywhere. Little kids, men and women, paraplegics, old men's leagues, etc. Pretty much anyone you can think of has the capability of playing basketball. I'm willing to bet that everyone in this room has been a part of basketball at one point or another, either by watching it or playing it. For me, I've played basketball my entire life, and it's always been extremely important to me. Today, I'm going to tell you about the two major changes of basketball. First, I'll tell you how it got started, and then the creation of the NBA. Basketball was invented by James Naismith in 1891 in the town of Springfield, Massachusetts. According to the book, Basketball was Born Here, written by Celia Robbins in 1998, Naismith was a student at the YMCA training school. It was here that a teacher proposed to his students to invent a new game that was capable of being played in the winter. Naismith took on this challenge with a heavy heart. Naismith tried again and again with many different experiments. He used several different approaches, including tag and a dodgeball type game called battle ball, as explained by Robbins. Finally, Naismith decided to try a completely unpaved route and came up with the basics of a totally new game, basketball. In 1998, Robbins explains how the early development of basketball was tremendously experimental, as many things were tested, put in place, and later changed. Naismith first tested this new game on gym students at the YMCA. Almost immediately, basketball was a hit throughout the school and the community. Spectators began to pack the gym to catch a glimpse of this new phenomenon. The characteristics and equipment of the early game was very different than what we see today. Here's some examples. It was played with long sleeve and pants. They originally played with 9 people on a team, but was later reduced to 5. Peach baskets served as the first hoop. These were set at a height of 10 feet, and this is one of the only standards that remains unchanged today. Soccer balls were the original ball. Actual balls created for basketball soon followed after the game's popularity increased. According to Robbins, these new balls were 30 inches in circumference and weighed 20 ounces. After a few years of development, backboards were introduced because of fan interference. Between every basket, players had to jump in order to gain possession of the ball. The original game had very simple scoring. You received 1 point per basket and 1 point for 3 consecutive fouls committed by the opposition. These are just some of the early characteristics given by Robbins in 1998. Within a few years, basketball's popularity skyrocketed and it soon reached a global status. Other countries started experimenting with it too, and modified these rules to fit their needs, Robbins notes. As stated by Robbins, in the year 1905, basketball was recognized as a permanent winter sport. With the popularity of basketball growing rapidly, the nation started developing leagues. The creation of the NBA was a long and grueling process. The National League of Professional Basketball Teams was organized in the 1900s according to Donald Stoffel in his article on basketball's history. This was the first structured league and also the first time that the players were paid to play. After years of chaos, we see the beginning of the NBA. The National Basketball League, or the NBL, was created in 1937 as stated by Stoffel in 1998. It consisted of 13 teams, and like today, these teams were owned by wealthy businessmen. In 1946, we see a rival league emerge into the picture, Stoffel explains. This league was the Basketball Association of America, otherwise known as the BAA. The BAA started with 11 teams and began to compete with the NBL. Stoffel explains how this rivalry was short-lived, as after 1 year of competition, they merged. The BAA absorbed the 6 surviving members of the NBL, and they decided to change their name to the National Basketball Association, or the NBA. With rising stars, the NBA's popularity now grows. New cities start teams and join the league. According to Donald Stoffel, the NBA crossed the racial barrier in 1950 when Earl Lloyd became the first African American to play. After years of the game not being changed, people started complaining that the game was too slow. The NBA answered by introducing a 24-second shot clock, reports Stoffel. This made basketball much more fast-paced. In 1967, another basketball league is formed, the American Basketball Association, as stated by Brand Forshaw in his 2011 article, History of Basketball. This new league had very fast and flashy gameplay. It used the classic red, white, and blue ball. The ABA was also the first league to use the three-point line set at 25 feet, as stated by Forshaw. This new excitement caused many basketball fans' heads to churn, and the two leagues then rivaled each other for the next 10 years. The ABA finally converged into the NBA in 1976. However, the ABA did pass on a couple of traits to the NBA. For example, a popular demand, they gave them the three-point line. Explained by first show in 2011, 4 ABA teams joined the NBA, along with many of the ABA's famous players, such as Julius Erving and Moses Malone. The NBA is now finalized. The rules have been adjusted slightly and teams moved to different cities, but for the most part, this is the game that we see today. So, in conclusion, I told you about 2 major changes that took place in basketball. First, I told you about basketball's invention, and then I explained about the creation of the NBA. As Celia Roberts states, Naismith's famous quote was, "Let us be able to lose gracefully and win courteously, to accept criticism as well as praise, and last of all, to appreciate the attitude of the other fellow at all times." This quote, of course, Naismith was talking about basketball. We can all apply this to our everyday life. I have to do a question and answer now, so if anyone has any questions.
John, when did basketball become an official Olympic sport?
1936.
Alright.
I got another question. Who's the all-time leading scorer in the NBA?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
For what team?
Lakers.
Anybody else?